the project that we did at River Rock Elementary. And if we go to the first slide, we'll see everyone in our team. My name's Scott Ware. I was the project manager in our group. I dealt mostly with coordinating with our project sponsor, delegating on some of the assignments that we had to do on the progress reports. There's Caden. He was our project finalizer, looking over each document, making sure it was up to snuff. Priamo, who did a lot of our architectural drawings and design layout. Moroni, who did a lot of our scheduling and monitoring through Microsoft Project. And Mason, who did most of our budget and things like that. So if we go to the next slide, this was our project. So we originally set out with the goal to volunteer with an elementary school in Lehigh and repaint some of their parking bollards and doors that had been chipped away or damaged. So we originally estimated that we would be able to paint 20 parking bollards and 6 doors in 6 hours using 3 gallons of paint. And that was done estimating that we would have 5 members of our group show up and 1 member of the school custodial staff to assist us. What we actually delivered is we were able to paint 25 parking bollards, 8 doors, and 2 gates, which weren't included in the original scope at all, but we had the time. We were able to do it in half the time, 3 hours, and we were able to use a fraction of the materials, coming in at just about 2 gallons of paint. So it was a very successful project. Next slide. So this is the layout of the school, as you can see, and we have some drawings of the pillars and the door headers and the door jambs that we painted. All the dots on that represent pillars, and in the bottom right corner, those are all the pillars that we planned to do initially, but we actually did all of the pillars that are shown on that document except for the 2 up front. The doors that we originally planned to do were only along the south side because they were the worst damaged from the sun. But we were able to do all the doors on the south side as well as the doors on the north side as well. 2 sets of double doors on the north side. And jump on over to the next slide. So these are some pictures of what they looked like before. You can see where the paint's pretty sun bleached and it had gotten brittle from the weather. It started to chip away, and on the bollards that are close to the playground, the kids will, once it starts to chip, they'll continue to chip it off. So it basically loses all its paint pretty quick once it starts to go. So kind of our process is we would sand each pillar to remove the major paint chips and prepare for sanding, and then we would paint using a small paintbrush along the bottom to make sure we didn't get any on the sidewalk. Then we'd use a larger brush roller on the rest of the pillar. And on the doors, we would have to paint around or tape around the door jamb and the hinges and the handle. And on some cases, we removed the hardware around the door so we could get a nice clean paint job. So this is our before pictures, and if you go to the next slide, it will be some of our after pictures. As you can see, it looks a lot better just with a simple coat of paint can do a lot. Those gates and the pillars are freshly painted, and they're no longer have the potential to rust or anything like that. We were able to avoid major spills along the sides of the doors and not on the bases of the pillars, which was awesome. And then if you go to the next slide, these were some of the most damaged pillars. There's a before and after. We were supposed to coat those with primer, but we didn't have those supplies, so we actually just used a couple of coats of paint, and it turned out very nicely. Then could you go to the next slide?
All right. I am Earl Knight Bessendorfer. I actually handled the project management tools that we used. The project we used was Microsoft Project 2016. We used that for our scheduling and our task monitoring throughout the project to ensure that our tasks were on time and delivered effectively. We used it to keep track of the budget expenditures, our tasks, and the cost value of work associated with that. If we were to put a dollar value to what we put in for the labor hours, we use that to calculate the cost savings of the school district. We actually also created our WBS. We used Primavera for that, so we actually used two different programs within this project. We even used Google Hangouts for collaboration amongst the team and video chatting to make sure that we were all on the same page and our efforts were effective. There was a lot of documentation storage for this project, and we used Google Drives to coordinate that so we could easily share documents back and forth and make sure that we were all on the same page with the project. What went right with the project is we had amazing communication amongst all of the 5 of us on the team. We communicated through, as previously mentioned, Google, phone, text messaging, and that. So our communication was top notch. We even had a new project, which will be talked about later as a fail. The project fell through, so we actually were able to have a new project that he presenting itself in a very timely manner with a dedicated sponsor. So we were able to pick up a new project fairly quickly as a result of that communication that we had. We completed the project significantly under budget for hours as well as monetary cost savings. We planned an average of 6 hours of physical labor to do the project, which was doing 20 bollards and 6 doors. Our outcome of the project, or the output, was 25 bollards, 2 gates, and 8 doors were completed in that 3-hour time frame. So we actually were able to significantly increase our labor without expanding our hours dedicated, which resulted, we also had a reduction in the amount of supplies used. We averaged about 3 gallons of paint budgeted, but we only used about 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons of paint. So that actually saved the district significant costs, so they can use those supplies in future projects without extensive costs out of pocket again. And we also had our weather remain stable with no issues to allow us to complete the project, which was one of our risks, which we will talk about at the next slide.
Yeah, I'm Mason Harris. I was in charge of the budgeting, the project budgeting and analysis. I'm going to talk about what went wrong and what our team learned by working on the project. We were pretty fortunate that in the execution of our project, nothing major went wrong. We were worried about some weather conflicts because it was raining the week prior and up into the day that we were supposed to be outside painting, but just keeping an eye on the weather and what it looked like that day, we were able to go out and paint in the gap where it didn't rain. We had some scheduling conflicts with team meetings. With a team of 5, we're all pretty busy with our own personal schedules, and so we just had to work and figure out a time that could coordinate with all of our schedules and that would work the best for everyone. Like Scott had mentioned, we didn't have any primer for the pillars, so on a couple of them we had to go over, wait for it to dry, and use 2 coats of paint. We had to change to a new project because our first one fell through and it didn't work out, but The new opportunity presented itself, so we were able to get past that fairly easy. And the biggest issue we ran into was today trying to get the Google On Air to work. Took us almost an hour to get everything set up so everyone can hear and we could communicate and get this project done and executed the way we needed it to. What our team learned by working on this project is that teamwork makes the dream work. Setting up an effective system, we were able to finish early and under budget, like was stated previously. We learned how one coat of paint can drastically increase the curb appeal of the elementary school, as well as how helpful it is, like Moroni stated, to use two different projects, Microsoft projects and Primavera. We were able to use both of those in the coordination and executing of our project. That was helpful to understand and just kind of put everything in one layout where we can all have access to it and share and communicate and bounce thoughts and ideas off of each other. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Mason. And as Mason said, we really have worked well together as a team, and teamwork has been something that's made us successful. It all started off with how we selected our project manager. It was a pretty obvious choice for us to choose Scott Ware as our project manager. He had the most contact with the owner, and he really just had the information that could help us get the project done on time and on budget. As we progress to the next slide, we can answer another question as well, which is it explains how well we worked together as a team. And as stated before, we really did have good communication, which helped the project go a lot smoother. And while we were there, we had a very distinct distribution of tasks. We knew which people were going to work on bollards, which people were going to work on doors, and who was in charge of those various groups at that time. And once one of our groups had completed their tasks, whether it was bollards or certain doors, it would progress and it would help another group so that way there was no wasted hours, there was no one wondering what they could do. We were each busy and filling the time slot that we had there. So as we move to the next slide, we can also see how this helps with our earned value. So this graph on the right-hand side is a plot that shows our earned value, our actual cost, and our planned value. So the earned value is in the dark blue, and since it's above the actual cost and planned value, that means that we were going to come in under budget and early with our project, which was awesome. And so the key indicators are there over on the left-hand side. So the first one, that CPI, is 1.413. So anything over 1 means that we're going to come in under budget, which is awesome. So our cost variance, which is the next number down, came in at $120. Which means we were actually $120 less than we expected. The SPI, or the Scheduled Performance Index, came in at 1.783. So that value, as well as well over 1, which meant we were going to come in early as well. And so our schedule variance in terms of dollars is $180, and that's a little hard to put into perspective, some time and money. And so the two metrics below measure our final cost of $290 compared to our original estimated cost of $410. So that's a savings of $120 for the school district. And then our final duration was 3 hours instead of the estimated 6 hours. So we had a 3-hour schedule increases or decrease as well. And as we move into the next slide, we can see how we avoided those risks to help obtain that under budget and quickened schedule. So as we discussed before, there was a little bit of a risk with the paint, especially since we were using a brown paint and we were using it on a gray asphalt as well as next to a red brick. If we got any paint on those surfaces, it was going to be really obvious. Luckily, we didn't encounter any of those issues because we used tape as well as other preventative coverings, and certain pieces of hardware were removed from the door so that there wasn't even a chance of getting paint on them. And as Scott had mentioned, we also used different brush sizes so that we could get in specifically detailed places, or so that we could get more paint on when we needed to. Another risk that we didn't really have to face was the weather. Leading up to the project, we got a little nervous. There was some rain in the forecast, but we selected a time that worked best for everybody, and and it ended up being clear. But just in case we had all set a backup date, and luckily we didn't have to utilize that. As Mason also mentioned, we had the risk of labor scheduling, that there was a chance that someone wasn't going to be able to show up for the project, but luckily there was enough coordination beforehand that we were able to ensure attendance and really have that teamwork to, like Mason said, make the dream work. So it was overall a very successful project from a risk standpoint.
Okay. Okay. So the next is your project sponsor final assessment of the project. Meaning, expectation that he has. Also, he asked that we were able to do more doors, pillars, and gates instead of 20 doors. It is 25 doors instead of just 6 pillars. We did 8. And meeting expectation is good, but exceeding expectation is better. So I know in this project we did it. We meet the expectation and also exceed the expectation of the custodial at River Rock. Next slide, please. Okay, what are the lessons learned? So first, the importance of being organized. The first slide says, being organized is being in control. As we learn through this project, it was really important for everybody of us to organize and do different tasks in this project. That way we're gonna be in control of if something happens, like the weather, like my other teammates have. If something happens with the weather, we're able to think in another day, in case we will not that day. The next, a good system shortens the road to the goal. So when we work as a team, and any one of us has a task, specific responsibility, everything is easier. So it's important for us to have different responsibilities, and that way that goal is going to be easier. So the next one says, from another point of view. In a team, it's important for every one of us here to listen what the others have to say, because in case you have a better idea or no better specific task, so you can do it, or you can have bring a better idea than maybe the one that I had before. So it's important to listen, communication. So then one says, teamwork divides the task and multiply the success. We learned through this project that was really important to divide tasks, and that way we feel like we have the confidence that everything is going to be right, because we have talented individuals in the team, though they know what they're doing, and that way we feel confident and we feel like we can do it. So it's important to have a good team and also divide our responsibilities. The next one says, the truth is that teamwork is the heart of a great achievement. So again, without teamwork, we can be really good at something, but when we don't have a teamwork, when we don't divide the objectives of the team, we're not going to be as good as other teams. So it's important to be a good team player. That way we can achieve anything. So in the last one said, for good ideas and true innovation, you need human interaction, conflict, argument, and debate. So again, it's important when we have a team that we can have to listen to everybody's ideas. That way we can choose that right. I don't know if the other ones have another comments.
No, I agree, Priamo. These quotes really do, they cover the lessons that we learned. Just being organized, having good systems, viewing things from a different point of view. These were kind of the things that helped us have success on this project, as well as just the interaction that we had with the owner as well. It was helpful that it was Scott's brother-in-law, just because they had open lines of communication that helped us understand what was really needed on the project. So thank you for these quotes. They really do sum up what we learned. And, we've really enjoyed our time together as a team and for the opportunity we had to help out with River Rock Elementary School. And so we hope that our project has brought some valuable lessons for other groups as well. And we hope to continue to learn from other groups' presentations. And so thank you for your guys' time today.